Look at those tomato plants. It's starting to be above 50 degrees at night, so we need to get these things hardened off and get them outside. This is a jumbled mess of tomato plants. We've got cherry tomatoes, beefsteak, and Armada tomatoes, I believe. I know this isn't conventional, this isn't the right way to do it, but we started our tomatoes way too early, so we just threw them in boxes like this. Next year, we're not gonna start them so early. We were able to get some into single pots. Gonna brace them up on the fence. We've been hardening these tomatoes off for a few days now and kind of skipping in between days, so that's probably not good, but now the temperatures are supposed to be in the 60s at night for the next week. I think we're safe to put them in the garden now. We're gonna let them harden off a little bit more for a couple more days, and then we'll put up a trellis in the garden and plant them. I've already got some tomatoes growing on them. This pile is just all intertwined, but there's a cherry tomato. Let's give them a little bit of water for the day. We've had chickens and a cow and pigs in the years past, but one thing we've never had is a garden, and I've definitely never grown tomatoes. Tomatoes have been the hardest thing to grow so far, but it's all just a learning experience, so I'm sure next year will be a lot better than it is this year. I'm gonna give you a little garden update because we've planted a bunch of stuff since the last video. So our garlic's doing well, our onions are doing pretty well. I believe it's called bolting. We've had a few onions do that where they're starting to bloom, so obviously those ones are gonna rot in the center is what I've heard. But our lettuce, doing really well. This row, we've got organic russet potatoes, more organic russet potatoes, and then we have organic gold potatoes, Yukon gold potatoes right here. Those are doing really well. This row right here, we have planted some bush beans, some tenderette bush beans, and being from Seattle, we love Asian food, and we would always go get sushi. And when we got sushi, of course, we had to eat edamame, so we decided to grow it right here on these trellises. We've got some little baby broccolis growing in there. That's super exciting. There's broccoli and cauliflower in here. This might be a little too bunched up, but so far they're doing good. Our cabbages had died when we first put them out, so we had to seed them again. So right in here, we have a couple cabbage growing, and we've got our carrots. Those are doing really well. I've been trying to keep up with this garden as much as I possibly can. You can see that the weeds have taken over some of this, but for the most part, everything's outgrown the weeds, and I've been able to keep on top of it, especially here in the lettuce patch. One thing Ashlyn and I have been really enjoying is this random patch of mint that popped up. Man, that smells good. We've been picking this and making our own homemade tea with it. It's our new favorite. The last owners even had some asparagus growing in here. You can see it's getting pretty tall. This one looks like it's going to seed. For right now, we've got 2 groups of corn growing. I just planted 3 rows of corn right here. This is sweet corn. I believe it's evergreen. We've got a couple sprouts coming up so far. Not a ton, but over here in this other field, in past videos, I talked about how we are gonna be growing some non-GMO soybean and non-GMO corn for our pigs. We will probably consume some of that corn as well if we don't have enough in our own garden over there. But in this field over here, non-GMO soybean, non-GMO corn, and it is really starting to come up. Starting your own garden or starting your own food plots is such a nerve-wracking thing at first. It seems like you're gonna throw the seed in and you're just gonna mess it all up and nothing's gonna grow, but let me show you how the turnip and the ryegrass food plot for the pigs is looking. Over here at the food plot, turnips are coming in really nice, ryegrass is coming in really nice. They're not beating each other out, they're coming up at the same time, it's perfect. This is gonna be such good forage for the pigs. We will probably graze them on this before the winter time. They're gonna probably enjoy it late in the summer, and then we'll plant again in the fall. We brought Samson and Delilah in from the forest because they cleared out the section we were wanting them to clear out, and then we had this ryegrass field, which you've probably seen in past videos, but we put the cows on this for a couple days to eat it down because it's annual rye. It was about to start to go to seed, and it's just gonna die off, and all that protein was gonna die with it. So we decided to put the cows on it. They ate the tops. They did a great job, and the pigs are coming through again, and they're starting to eat it too. And the interesting thing is, although we have Idaho pasture pigs and they graze, I was expecting them to root a lot more. But these pigs have just ate the tops of this grass. I mean, they haven't rooted at all. Honestly, the cows did more damage to this field than the pigs have in the 2 weeks that the pigs have been in here. Any bare spots in this field is from the cows walking on it when we had a big heavy rain. And I just love coming out here and seeing these pigs just nip the tops of this grass and not go rooting for it. I'm in an Idaho pasture pig group on Facebook, and one of the things that they said is when you put these Idaho pasture pigs on new ground, fresh ground, a lot of times they're gonna go rooting, they're gonna go finding those tap roots. But then after you seed it again and put them back on it, they're gonna just eat the tops. They'll still have their wallows and whatnot, but they're not gonna root it up like they did the first time. And that's really what I'm finding here, because we had pigs on this last year, and now that we've seeded it in ryegrass and they're back on it again, they haven't rooted at all. Samson, buddy. This is Samson. Yep, that's a good boar right there. He's gonna try and lean on me to rub up on me. He loves those scratches. Who doesn't love a good butt scratch? Let's get this tractor unloaded. We've got some work to do. This big circle behind me is our little roundabout in our property. That way we can bring the trailer and everything around. And this little spot is kind of a dead space. We planted a bunch of fruit trees in here earlier in the year with Ashland's family. But today we're gonna be planting some pumpkins in here. We're gonna have our own pumpkin patch right in the front of our house. Our house is right there. And if we have enough space, we're even gonna plant some winter squash, maybe some watermelons and some cantaloupe. We've got all different kinds of organic pumpkin seeds that we're gonna be planting. The ones I'm most excited about are these competition pumpkins. I guess they're supposed to be massive. I'm measuring my mounds out about the length of my garden hoe, and then starting another mound right about there. All the research I was doing online said that if you mound up your piles, it'll heat the soil up a little bit quicker. It'll help the pumpkins germinate a little bit better. I hear footsteps. We are free ranging our chickens now, because in our big barn over there, where they used to be, we are now building our pig pens, and I am making a video on that, but it's taken a while, so you'll see that here shortly. But we're building our pig pens in our big barn there, and so we have just been free ranging our chickens, and it actually has gone pretty well. We did lose a chicken the other day. It was our Silky, which is too bad because that's Ashland's favorite. But didn't get attacked, wasn't bloody. I have no idea what happened. It just, like, within an hour of me feeding it, it was on the ground dead, and no signs of predators or anything. This is the mobile chickshaw I built. The scrap shaw, extremely cheap. Most expensive part were those wheels, but I just move this once every day or two and get the manure load in one spot, and then we'll move it forward so that way it doesn't just sit in one area. That way we can fertilize our lawn. This area is extremely far from the garden. I have to say I am a little worried because we're planting those pumpkins, so hopefully they've got enough woods and everything, and I'll feed them way away from this area so that way they don't destroy it once they start growing. We've got our dirt mounded up in a big circle. This is kind of a teardrop shape. I think on this next row, I'm actually just gonna plant it straight in the soil. I don't think I'm gonna mound it up because I kind of want to see, I like doing tests like that to see if this is actually better or not, because it is a lot more work. I'm pretty out of breath right now because using a garden hoe to mound up that soil is a lot, especially in such a big area. So I'm gonna see if that makes a difference. The next row, 5 feet in, I'm just gonna drag my garden hoe along and we'll just plant the seed right in the ground, no mounding or anything. I got all my rows set up. I tried to make it as nice and neat as possible. I just love seeing rows of vegetables. I think it's like one of the most beautiful things. And what I think I'm actually gonna do is in the center of this teardrop shape, I think I'm actually gonna plant some sunflowers. So I think that'll look nice come fall. But I wanted to show you the difference. This is a normal seed right here. Not sure what kind, but just regular jack-o'-lantern type seed. And this is a competition seed. Look at the size difference between those two. Isn't that incredible? I am so excited to plant these competition ones. Just kind of a joke, you know. We're not gonna do much with them, but I'm really excited to see how big they get, and I'm sure the pigs will love them once they come time to harvest. We're gonna plant 2 or 3 seeds in each mound. I'm gonna evenly space it as much as possible, and we'll do the competition ones more towards the center. I got our pumpkin patch all planted. This is gonna look so nice. Can't wait for the fall to have all of our pumpkins here and hopefully some sunflowers growing in the center, but our tomatoes have been out for a while, so let's go check on them. Yeah, I don't think they're very happy out here. Let's take them inside now. Now I've got all my tomato plants inside. They were looking pretty sad. Hopefully by Monday, they'll be in the garden. We are down to 48 Cornish cross chickens, I believe. We had purchased 60 and some of them didn't make it. I slipped up one night and forgot to put the heat pad on, and sadly I think we lost about 6 that day. It's expected to lose a few. 12, that seems a little much, and you live and you learn. These chickens are hanging on by a thread at all times in their life. We did, however, order some Rudd Rangers, which are those Freedom Rangers from Murray McMurray Hatchery. We ordered about 30 of those. They're coming in June. We'll be putting these Cornish cross in the chicken tractors next week, hopefully Monday or Tuesday. But once we get those Red Rangers, these guys should be all dressed out and ready to go in the freezer, so that way when those Red Rangers are old enough, they'll go in the chicken tractors. Hopefully that'll be enough chicken for the rest of the year for Ashlyn and I. It's just the 2 of us, but the last time we raised meat birds, we raised about 24 of them, and I think we went through them in maybe 2 months. We gave a couple of them away, but we eat a lot of chicken here. That one almost escaped. Ashlyn has requested that we have a picnic down by the creek. So we need to get the tractor, get the brush hog on it, because the grass and the weeds are just insanely overgrown back there. We'll bring the dogs with us, let them swim in the creek. Come on, dogs, come on. That's where the pigs were. I just absolutely love it back here. This is about 10-ish acres on the backside of our property, and it doesn't make it in many videos because it's not really getting much use right now. As you can tell, we have tons of weeds, tons of goldenrod. This is tick central, so we always make sure to treat the dogs really well. And I just love it back here. I mean, it's the most peaceful place. It's so quiet. You can't see any houses. You can't see any property. Our neighbor's property is right there, but it's just all forest, so there's no one to disturb you. Someday we hope to build a house right up back here. The creek is over in here. We're gonna go head towards the creek, get this field mowed so that way we can put out a nice blanket, have a nice picnic this weekend. Man, it's gotten thick back here. This is our creek. Those dogs just love this creek. So our property, the creek actually goes through our property, so we own about an acre on the other side of this creek, which is really nice. I would say we probably own maybe 200-300 feet of the creek, really. But it's beautiful. We have some nice swimming holes. Our neighbor's kid always comes over and fishes for little tiny fish. I don't know what's in here, but they always come over and fish with their cousins and whatnot. So, but it is just beautiful back here. I can see why Ashlyn wants to have a picnic over here this weekend. Our weekend, she has Sundays and Mondays off, so today is Saturday when we're filming this, but you guys will probably see it about a week later. This is the area we need to mow down, and then we're gonna probably mow up a strip back up to the house, but man, this stuff's gotten tall. I've mowed this quite a few times, but this time of year it just comes back thick, so. Whew, caught you there. Hit a big piece of wood. Now doesn't that just look nice? No more walking through here and having to worry about getting ticks on you. I'm sure the dogs are thankful. But yep, this is our creek. Beautiful back here. Beautiful. Before you couldn't even see over into the water. Now you can see everything. This life, living out here in the forest, living out here in the country, definitely beats living in the city, in my opinion. Sit. Daddy, come. Sit. Well, now that they got that out of their system, I gotta mow one more thing. No point in mowing all this if that's still a jungle, so. Now that the dogs have had their fun, there's a couple things I gotta do in the garden before we get a big rain tomorrow. I am in here in the garden. We have Yukon Gold potatoes right here on this row. And we've got 2 rows of organic russet potatoes because that's mostly what we eat is russet potatoes. As you can see on this row, I already mounded the soil up. I'll probably mound it up a little bit more, but these guys are growing really well. Those took off way better than the russet potatoes did for some reason. But our russet potatoes are now probably about 6 to 8 inches tall, so it's time to mound this soil up next to them so that way we get better yields. This is where we planted 3 rows of corn, but right next to it we actually have a bunch of elderberry that grows. We actually have elderberry that grows on a lot of our fence lines, but this is a really good patch. This year we're gonna harvest it and hopefully make some elderberry syrup.